so what are we talking about today?
GLP-1. GLP-1, nobody knows what it is, so we'll talk about it. It stands for glucagon-like peptide, but it's not really like glucagon, so we're just going to call it GLP-1. Some people call it GLP-1, but it's a new regulator that has become more important because of medications that are developed that are like it or that help it hang around longer.
How long have we known about this?
Maybe 10 or 20 years.
Okay.
It's not a real, it's sort of new, but the drugs are fairly new. The first drug that was mimicking GLP-1 was introduced in 2005.
So what does it do?
So what it does is it regulates insulin release from the pancreas. And if you think about it, why does the pancreas know that you're eating? I mean, how does it know? It doesn't know. It has to have signals that tell it that you're eating. So the brain knows you're eating, and the brain tells the intestines to make this GLP-1. So it's a signal released by looking at food or thinking about food or thinking about what you're going to eat. And the signal runs to the pancreas and says, start making insulin, because you want to make insulin before you eat so that your sugar will never go up. And in people without diabetes, it never goes up. It always stays the same no matter what you eat. If you eat ice cream or cake or a pizza, anything like that, the sugar never goes up. And I think people with diabetes don't realize that. They say, well, my sugar only went to 180. I'm like, well, you know, it's supposed to be 90, but you know, 108 will give you a little bit of of a range, but it's not supposed to be like that. And so when you find these regulatory hormones and realize that people with diabetes don't make enough of them, then that's part of the defect. That's part of the defect in their diabetes, that they don't make enough of this signal. So the pancreas has to wait until the sugar goes up before it makes insulin. And the pancreas will react to a high sugar by making tons of insulin. But you'd rather it not react, you'd rather it prevent a high sugar. So that's why the regulatory hormones are important. So people with diabetes have a deficiency of these hormones. And
so are these hormones in like the receptor of that signal that says to create more, or
the brain? Yeah, the brain sends out messages telling the intestinal cells to make these hormones, and then they go to the pancreas. The one in the human body only lasts for 15 seconds, so it's not like a prolonged signal. So when they were trying to figure out what to do or how to make it work as a medication, because you really don't want a medicine that lasts only 15 seconds. You know, that would be hard to give it every 15 seconds. So what they do is they look for animals that made this hormone, and turns out that a Gila monster eats only every 6 months. So it releases a GLP-1 in its saliva, and the GLP-1 is long-acting. And so they took that molecule and synthesized it into what's called Byetta, which is exenatide. And Byetta was the first GLP-1 medication. And it was fairly short-acting as far as the ones now, but you give it before meals, and it works on the meal, and it provides that signal that your pancreas needs to make insulin at the right time.
So we learned this from reptiles then, or sort of?
Yes, Gila monster is very important now. But it's not that they've trained Gila monsters to spit into, test tubes and they made the medication. I think people are like, oh, lizard spit.
But
I'm using lizard spit. I'm like, no, you're really not. I think
it's synthesized.
It's synthesized, which people think that's unnatural. But you'd rather not have a bunch of Gila monsters around since they're poisonous to be spitting in tubes, giving you their saliva. But they did.
Now we have that picture this hour of the morning. But it is now. Is it becoming more common as a treatment?
I think we're learning more and more about it. The second one was Victoza, which is once a day, and the drugs not only tell the pancreas to make insulin, they tell the liver not to release sugar when you're eating, which you're supposed to not release it anyway, but the people with diabetes release sugar from their liver when they're eating. It's a whole regulatory problem. Also, GLP-1 makes you not as hungry. It's a signal that tells your pancreas to work, go ahead and process this food, but don't get hungry. And so it helps a lot with weight loss, and that's the advantage to the medications. The medications now are all given as injections, and they've gone from twice a day, which is Byetta, to once a day Victoza, to a weekly. The weekly medications are Vidurion, which is long-acting Byetta, Trulicity, and Tanzium, and that's once a week shot, because a lot of people don't like to give shots. I don't know why they would not like to give shots, but They just don't like
Yeah.
the shots. So these are shots that are not insulin. They don't make you hungry. They don't make you gain weight. They make you lose weight. They regulate your pancreas. Your sugar does not go up after eating, so you don't go into a food coma. Like some people, if their sugar goes high after they eat, they're very tired and sleepy, and they help. The other group of drugs that is helpful are the DPP4 inhibitors, and they keep the GLP-1 in your own body from going away. And that's helpful in early stages of diabetes, and those are drugs like Januvia, Onglyza, Tradjenta, Nasina, and those just keep your own GLP-1 from breaking down too soon. It keeps it from hanging around longer. And that's assuming you have made GLP-1. That's why early in diabetes, it's helpful to use those drugs. But later, when you don't make GLP-1, then you have to give GLP-1.
Okay. All right. And again, we're talking about these issues and may concern you and your diabetes as well. Hey, welcome back to Sugar Talk with Dr. Kate Jean Lucas from Diabetes Endocrinology Consultants, online at beachdoctor.com, where you'll find a lot of information about all that they do and about the studies that are coming up as well. So we're talking about GLP-1, and this is now. Do you have studies about this now too? Or?
Yeah, we actually have an oral GLP-1 study, which is very interesting. It works similarly to the shot. You just don't have to give it as a shot, so it survives the stomach acid, and it works just the same as the injections. So that study is for people on metformin only. And a lot of the diabetes studies, they like you just to be on metformin, and they add their drug, to what you're already taking. We also have another GLP-1 that's mixed with long-acting insulin. And that's interesting because as you progress with diabetes, your pancreas doesn't make as much insulin. So that's a combination drug. And that's for people already on a GLP-1. If they're already on, Byetta, Victoza, Trulicity, Tansy, Bydureon, then they can either stay on their own medicine or be put on a mixture with the insulin, depending on how high their sugar is. And
is GLP-1 medicines, are they ever used by themselves, or are they just always in combination with another?
Oh, they're used by themselves a lot. A lot of people can't tolerate metformin, and that's sort of the second line to use. You use metformin first because it's cheap and good, but a lot of people are intolerant to it as far as diarrhea, nausea. These drugs also can cause diarrhea, nausea, but if you start with a low dose and work up, like with Victoza, you can start with a very small dose and creep up slowly. You get used to it, and then you don't have it anymore.
That seems though that's the universal side effect.
Yeah, most drugs can cause that. That's for sure.
Yeah. But are these again? If you show signs that you're not tolerating certain things, and that's you should be consulting your doctor.
Yeah, I mean, we have this big long sheet about the drug, and it says what the side effects are, and if you have it, don't go up. But it's amazing to me how much people continue to go up because they want to be on the higher dose because it might help them lose weight better. But if they're throwing up, they do lose a lot of weight, but that's not a really good way of. That's not a good diet plan.
No. So again, these studies are all ongoing, or any on the horizon? Any new ones on the horizon?
Well, we just started the one with the mixed GLP-1 and insulin. So that just started. That's starting this week, actually.
And then diabetes school is going to be on you again before you know it, right?
Yeah, October 15th at the aquarium.
You're still going to show the Gila monster then?
Yeah.
So
that's a good
Gila
slide.
Monster eating a mouse?
Yeah. That's what I searched for. I searched for Gila monster eating. I searched for Gila monster eating and found that picture. That was great.
But it's so the synthesis now of this hormone is that advancing? I mean, is there more studies about how to make that better?
Oh yeah, they're making it. The weekly shots are very interesting. There's also a little device you can put under your skin that lasts for 6 months and gradually pumps out the medication. We did studies with that, but that's getting ready to get approved, and that was very interesting. That's Byetta, but it's put into a little sort of a cylinder with a piston, a little teeny weeny cylinder with a piston, and that's under the skin, and that's removed every 6 months. So you don't have to take shots. You just put that in there and forget about it.
If you want to find out more, you can go online at beachdoctor.com or call the office at 252-222-5700. Beachdoctor.com for diabetes and endocrinology consultants who brings you Sugar Talk every week. We'll see you next week.